Now you may be thinking, why would Stamperia put together orchids and cats? I don't know, but I'll tell you the collection is just luscious, and Teresa has had a marvelous time. So you're going to want to sit back and relax because I've got 5 cards to share with you. Will you please come play with us? Now you can see all of the papers, all of the rice paper, all of the pieces. If you go to Orchids and Cats at paperwishes.com, click on the paper pad, and I've got a video showing you everything. But this is what Teresa's using. So there are 55 die cuts. Now these are on a heavyweight board, and so that's really nice. The papers are right here. They're 8 by 8. There are several rice papers, and you are in for a treat. And there are several chipboards. There's also a stamp and maybe some other things. So just play with us, okay? We're going to start with our very first card. Let me scoot these out of the way. Okay, and this one, Teresa has a wonderful collection of absolutely amazing cards, and I love the fact that she shares them with us. Now this card, okay, do you see that kitty in a window? We've got butterflies. Time spent with cats is never wasted. But let me show you what happens when I open this up. And when I stand it up, she calls this an inside-outside card because there's this fun panel that really pops up these pieces. And you can see some of the chipboard on the inside. So let me show you that again. Okay, so here's the card. Beautiful, lovely, and then you pop it up and oh, there's a fun surprise. So you might have this sitting like this upright. That way you can see those little cats right there. And these are part of the cutouts that are part of the book. So let me just show you. Now for this, Teresa used some of the rice paper. In fact, let me find them. Let's see. This is the white orchid. The white orchid looks like this. And the rice paper, kind of as you can see there, is a bit translucent. And that allows for some fun things that you'll see later on. But it can also kind of duplicate paper. So that's what Teresa has done here. And you can see where this orchid right here is right here on the card. So her card is 6.5 by 5. First thing that she wants to do, knowing that she's going to make this style of a card, is to take the card and open it and close it a whole bunch of times. Now why? Because you want to loosen that score line. Now if you're doing your own cards, that's fine, but you want to do the same thing on the score line. If you're buying our blank cards, you want to do the same thing. So just open it and close it multiple times just to get that nice and loose. Okay, you don't want it to crack, you just want it to go back and forth. Okay, now the other thing you're going to do before we get started is you're going to cut a piece of cardstock. Now this cardstock measures 6 1/4 by 2 inches. Okay, now this is going to be the mechanism on the inside. So then you want to 6 1/4 by 2, then you want to score it every 1/2 inch. So a 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inches. Okay, then you're going to take the center one and fold it in half, just like that. That's going to be a mountain fold. Then you're going to take each of these sides and fold them up into a valley fold, and it looks like this. Okay, now we might as well get this started to go on the inside of our card, just because that's where I'm kind of starting this time. So it makes a W like that. Now Teresa has taken our extra sticky tape. She's placed a strip on each outside and then one strip right here. She did that because we're going to pull this off and we're going to first attach that center area together, just like that. And you can see that this makes a little mechanism like this. So let me show it to you on the inside of the card. In fact, let me get a few things out of the way. Okay, so my card is open. And, oh, by the way, just in case you're not sure, when you have a score line, there's a bump on one side and a divot on the other. The bump, believe it or not, goes on the inside of your card. That's right. So I've got this together, as you can see. Now we have kind of a shape like that. Then these two pieces are going to go on over the fold on the inside of the card. And so it's just going to go like that. That way, when the card is opened, this part is going to pop up. So let me just do that. So it just takes a moment, and you're just going to place it straight down right over that fold. So you just want to line it up, and you'll notice that it has been cut a little bit shorter than the width of the card. And I'm just going to make sure I can see that. Okay, there we go. Just like that. No big deal. So just right over that. Then when the card is closed, you'll want to push that down again, get your bone folder, and then when you open it, it's going to pop up because everything's connected. Okay, got that. Now let's go back to our card. On the front of this card, as I said, she has taken the rice paper. Now, Teresa has a confession to make, and I'm going to share it with all of you. She said that a lot of times, in fact, Lene does this. Lene will put diluted glue, so she gets our Cosmic Shimmer glue, this, dilutes it in a little bit of water, and spreads it on the back of the paper, or you could spread it on the card. Teresa says she doesn't have the patience for that, so I'm sharing that with her. So she takes glue stick, our very favorite glue stick, and just really covers the surface that she wants to put the rice paper on. So then this just goes right on. You want to trim it first and then just place it down. The nice thing with that, you want to place it in the middle and then just walk it around. That way, if there are any air bubbles, you can lift it back up and place it back down, because glue stick, as you know, is very forgiving. Now, I want to show you some things inside the book. And you see all those Post-its? Well, that's because I have 3 projects to show you. Okay, so she has placed her rice paper, and that's done a nice job. Now right here, she's going to take one of these cutouts, and as you know, Stamperia is really always has a lot of cutouts. Sometimes they're just very straight lines like this. Sometimes, like back here, they're a little more intricate. It is your choice. So what Teresa's done is she's placed that piece right there, and it just works very, very nicely. Now, she also has taken some of the cutouts. Let's see. Oh, I just thought I should tell you. This is on this side, but then there's a plainer one on the back side. Okay. Now we're going to go right. No, we're not. We're not going to go there. Yes, we're going to go right here. Okay. So you see that row of kitty paws? That's what she used right here. And that works very nicely. Now, these pieces are in the die cut set. And as I told you, there are 55 in this package, just a wonderful assortment. And as you can tell right here, this piece, this butterfly, and this butterfly are all out of the die cuts. So use 3 of them on this card. Now, for the inside, now you had a lot of the orchid paper left, so we're not going to lose it. We're going to take another piece of it and glue that to the inside of her card. Now we wanted to do this mechanism first so that the paper could go over that tab. And because it's so soft and so thin, it goes over it perfectly, and it just works very nicely. Okay, the kitty right there is going to be back to that same sheet that I just showed you. And this is the back of this one right here, just one of the other pieces. So you can use it at the front, you can use it at the back. What I love that Teresa did is that she used this chipboard. Now you haven't seen this chipboard yet. And isn't this wonderful? So you can see life is better with cats, the paw prints, the kitty that's stretching, all of those just got tapped with an ink pad and glued down. So it just works really well. And again, that specialist glue is going to work very nicely for gluing it down. So just put some dabs on the back of it and press it down, you're good to go. Now, what about those kitties? Okay, the kitties are back at that last page. So what Teresa did is she first took some of the cutouts, excuse me, some of the border paper, so you can see that, and she put a strip right here on this edge. She put another strip in the back, and that way the cats are going to rest on that ledge. And you see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kitties there. Well, she just cut out 3 of them and glued them to the bottom of that piece that pops out, and that took care of it. Now, this is on the back of the pad, and so there are things behind it. So Teresa did place this on white cardstock just so that she had a nice clean edge on the back of that. So your choice if you like it. In fact, it looked like she kind of sandwiched that. So you can put glue on the top of your cat, place it on the cardstock, trim it out, but don't glue the bottom part, and wait and just glue that. Let me just show you. You can see, there you go, how one side goes on this side, and then the cutout goes on the other side. So it kind of just nestles right on top there. Really a fun card, and a great technique to remember. So I trust that you will do that. Okay, let's go into a slimline card next. And this is what Teresa has done. So she has used our slimline cards that are 8.5 by 3.5. And this time she has done several things. Oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you. In this one, I am so sorry. I forgot to tell you something. Back roll, okay? The time spent with cats is never wasted. That is part of the stamp set. My goodness, there it is, right there. And on the inside, well, I guess there isn't any stamping, so we'll see some other stamping later on, but doing due diligence to that sweet little kitty stamp set. This is a rubber stamp, but it is cling, so it's going to just go right onto the MISTI if you're using that, or onto an acrylic block, so that's going to work nicely. Okay, now we can move on. I beg your pardon. Okay, with this one, we're going to go back into the paper pad, and we're going to use some of the papers. In fact, we're going to start with this one. And this paper, let's see, let me get my little pieces together. There we go. Okay, so right here we've got all of these papers, and this is one piece right here that has the green in it, and there it is. Okay. So you can see this is how the paper's sitting, the kitty's sitting there, but Teresa used it going the other direction, like this. So as you can see, it's placed right there. So that's a really clever way to use an 8-inch square paper, is place it on a slimline. And I love how Teresa used this that created kind of a frame or a ledge or a window behind all of these beautiful orchids. All of those came from the set of die cuts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, just beautifully raised up on foam tape. And let me show you something else that Teresa's done. This is the chipboard that she used. This is called Love, as you can see. And what Teresa did is to use embossing powder. So she would take the Versamark or the Wow embossing pad or the Crafter's Companion one, simply tap the chipboard and then put on the embossing powder. Now for the butterflies, she used this, which is the Vintage Plum from Stampendous. You can see how gorgeous that is. For the Love, she used this one from our friends at Creative Expressions, and it's called, and I'm going to mess this up, so bear with me, Plantahunut. Plantahunut? Plantahunut. It is, you'll see it in the directions down below. You'll also see it when we show all the projects. But you see it's got this beautiful mix of colors. There's kind of a brown and a teal, deep teal. And that's what she used on the love. So that just goes on the front. She wanted a bit of shine, so she went to the pink border dazzles. And you can see that she added one on the outside edge and then one on the inside edge. So that worked very nicely. Now, going into the inside of our card, all of these are cutouts or die cuts right there. She did the same thing with the two butterflies. She added more of the jewel dazzles just to the border dazzles, just to add some shine. It kind of plays nicely with what the embossing powder that she used on the butterflies, don't you think? So very, very nice. She also, on the front, let me just kind of move that so you can see, along the edge of the containers, she added a thin line dazzle, because these are a little bit too wide. So she went to our package of thin line dazzles, these are the glitter ones, and just placed them right there. By the way, the idea for the colorful and the glitter thin line dazzles came from one of you, came from a customer. She hit that request button, sent it to me, and voila, we have them. And it works out very nicely. Okay, more cards from our wonderful Teresa. Look at this. Now, this card comes flat, but it stands up. And look at that. It is so very fun. You see the kitties, one looking in the window. It just works nicely. Now, to make this one, Teresa has given us a pattern, and I always appreciate that. So this is in the gallery. When you get to the gallery, then click on this card. It should be standing up, I hope. And then go to the instructions. There'll be a list of supplies. At the bottom of that list, it will say download. So you can just print this off, just really easy. Now, in order to construct this, you're going to need each of these pieces. So this is this one. This is the card back. This is the card front. And you're also going to need the brace, and you're going to need 3 of those, okay? Then this is a paper pattern to go along the sides of the little box, okay? So here's what you need to do. When you have these, you're going to want to put the extra sticky tape along the tab, and that's going to be true of every single one of these. In fact, even these. Okay, so what we're going to do is place the tape, as I said. Now, this is titled the back, so this is going to be the back of our structure. Then we're going to fold that in, and we're going to fold that little tab in. Now, this is the front of our structure, so this is going to attach here, and this tab with the extra sticky tape is going to attach in the back, just like that. Okay, give me a second and I'll actually make them attach just so that you can see it. And the only thing you want to make sure that you do is that these line up perfectly, because this is, you kind of get one shot at doing this. So you want to be sure that everything lines up perfectly, top and bottom and side to side. Okay. So I'm just going to place that right there. Okay, so now my box is constructed. She used 2 different colors of cardstock just so you could really see what's happening. Now, let me show you in the inside of her little box that we're going to use these pieces that you'll cut out. They're going to hold our little characters. Now, this is very much like a pop-up box, so I'm sure you're very familiar with that. So notice that this is angled. So what you're going to do with each of these is to have the tape at right along the score line, but on the outside of the tab, and place the first one so that it is against the back of the box and equal to the top of the box, okay? Just like that. Then the next one is going to go, it's going to touch that first one, but it's going to be even with the side of the box. The last one is going to do the same thing. So each of them actually touches the one behind it, but it always is going to be level with the side of the box. That way you're going to get a piece that's going to fold easily and is going to be very clean along the edges, just like Teresa's is. Okay, now what did Teresa do? What did she use to decorate? Well, let me show you. So right here is the paper. In fact, there are several papers she used. Sorry about my Post-its, but I really need them. Okay, so this one is going to go right at the bottom. Let's see, it's that piece, and it's also this one. So we are going to, you can see that this is going to go on the sides. So that little shape that she gave us, that's going to go on each side. Notice she cuts them so that the shape, or excuse me, that the box is become the mat around that paper. So you can see how those pieces are used. In fact, it's actually the other edge. There you go. So you can see how nicely that lines up both sides. Okay, now we need this front. And this front is going to be over here. And you see that little torn edge right there? Well, that's going to be right here. So it doesn't take very much paper, does it? Now, for the inside, she has used this paper to cover another piece of cardstock that you're going to cut. And this is going to be our back of the box. So 3 7/8 by 5 1/4. And just let me show you as I tuck this in, that is going to be this piece. So it's going to stabilize your box a bit. And it also allows you to add these die cuts. So let me just scoot that over so you can see this a little bit better. So this arch, this cat, in fact, everything is out of the die cuts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? And just gorgeous, absolutely lovely. Okay, I have more. I have 2 more. I'm very excited to show you. Now, this one is going to use a couple of different things. Let me show it to you. Now, this is using our rice paper again, and this is using the pink orchid and the butterfly rice paper. Okay, so you can kind of see how that's playing right there. In this case, Teresa has also added our chipboard hearts, and you can see she's got 2 on the front, 1 below, 1 underneath, and 1 on top. This is glued flat, and this one is foam taped, as you would imagine. The first thing she did, now this is a 6.5 inch by 5 inch card, our regular size, is that she cut 1 inch off the opening edge. Now she did that because then it's just really easy to open and just lets these really play nicely on the front. You don't have to do that, but Teresa elected to do it, okay? Now, each of the pieces is covered with the rice paper, as is the front of her card. So that's interesting. Let's start, well, let's go to the hearts, okay? She did the same thing. She took the glue stick, spread it onto the heart, and then simply placed the paper, the rice paper, whichever way she wanted. Now, I think in this case, she turned it around, and there you go. You can kind of see that, and placed it there. Whoops, yes. And so that little heart is going to nestle right in there, and then just smooths it down. Then she did some inking along the edge, and she used the rustic brown ink pad with the blending brushes just to really get a nice finish on that. The other one, she used the pink orchid rice paper, and she used this area, and you can see the letters just down below there. So that's really pretty. Same thing, doing the inking on the edge. Now, for her card, she first cut a piece, and it is this area that she used. You can kind of see that green letter peeking out right there, and that got trimmed and then glued to her card front. So very, very nice. Now the happy anniversary is from our Happy Anniversary Dazzles. That too was a suggestion by a customer, which we so appreciate it. This is the chipboard. This is another of the chipboard die cuts, rather. And then Teresa also added thin line dazzles. Now I think this is really interesting because she elected to use the brown set. And just that tiny bit of detail, I think, just does a really nice job. Now, she also added, this is the Sugar Posies Tutti Frutti. Tutti Frutti is the color. This is from our friends at 49 and Market. And you can see that there's at least three sizes of flowers and leaves in here. And Teresa just used 2 of them. So there's 49 in here. So there's plenty left. I like the colors. I thought that was an interesting combination. Now, Teresa did have the ivory ribbon. This is the ivory ribbon pack. And she did wrap it all the way around the card. Now that's unusual for Teresa, but that crepe ribbon is so beautiful. It just looks really nice. This is certainly a style that you could use for any season, any reason, any holiday. And dazzles or stamping or a cutting die would work really well to go right in there. And you know what? I think no, I didn't lie to you. The Happy Anniversary is a set, and it comes in black, white, gold, silver. Lots of colors there to work well. And she used the brown right there. So that's nice. On the inside is also finishing off with the rice paper and more of the thin line dazzles and more of the chipboard. Just a really lovely, lovely card. Nice to have this. Now, I'm going to clean up this mess so I can get ready for our 5th card, which is actually not a card. Let me show you. Well, I have something extra special right here, as though everything else wasn't extra special, but this is a journal. Well, it's actually a composition book. I can get them at my grocery store. I know dollar stores have them, and they generally have a black binding on them. And that's what Teresa has used as her base for this absolutely wonderful project. There's the front. There, whoops, my Post-it, and there's the back. Now, she has used rice paper on this, so let me show you what she's done. She's done a lot of different things here. Now, to begin with, Teresa said that she wanted to use the rice paper. In fact, what she's using is the cat. I love that cat. And on the back, she used the clock, which is this one. Now, because they are somewhat translucent, and it happened to be that the composition book she got, well, generally they're going to have something there. So she elected to cut a piece of cardstock that would cover that. In fact, she did all of her creativity on this piece of cardstock, and then at the end glued it to her composition book. So we're just going to know that she's going to create everything on here. And she used white, so that way that the colors would really pop. And as you can see, she just did a beautiful job. Well, of course she did. Now, she elected, as I have told you, she uses glue sticks, so my favorite actually. So just covering the whole piece, positioning her rice paper on top so that that's just centered, and it's kind of nice that it's translucent. And then simply, so she positioned it kind of at the bottom so she knew that she had that ledge that the kitty's sitting on, and then pressed it down, turned it over, and trimmed it to fit. Very, very easy. Now, the next step that Teresa did involves a stencil. And it's this piece over in the corner, really pretty. Now, I have done that step on a piece of red cardstock because this needs to dry, and I didn't want to take the time to let it dry. I wanted to have it ready for you. So imagine, if you will, that there's a kitty here, and then you're going to take a stencil, and Teresa has used the quatrefoil stencil. This happens to be a slimline stencil, but that doesn't mean it's limited to slimline. So what she did is simply placed it, right, well, you can do it actually any way you want. Because this has an edge around it, I'd have it starting right at the edge of the red paper and just position it like so. Okay, then I would put this on a craft mat and then hold it down with the low-tack tape just to hold it in place. Then what Teresa did, she used this that also happens to be from Stamperia. This is the cream paste. Now the cream paste is super soft and super easy to move. Let me open this up. Okay. There we go. Oh, I see what happened. That kind of got caught. Now we're going to use our knife and just spread that over the stencil. Okay, like so. Just spread it. Now you really want it to be thin. You want to be able to see the stencil after you've covered this, okay? Now, Teresa suggested doing one other thing. Oh, I do want to tell you that when you go to close this back up, you don't want to let it sit open. You just want to make sure that it's covered, that it's airtight, so it won't dry out. This is a wonderful cream paste is what it's called. There's also, we have a texture paste, and this comes from Ranger, I believe. So either one is going to work the same, but you do need to let them dry. Now, I have a very sharp line there. Teresa has a very gentle line. And I wanted to do it, there we go. I wanted to show you the difference. Now what she did is after she removed the stencil, she took her palette knife and just kind of brushed along the edge. That way it's not a straight line. So I thought it might be helpful to see both ways. Your choice, whatever you like. And she did, as you can see, she went over that way. Let it dry. It takes about, I'd say, 30 minutes to dry. So, you know, you can be doing another step while that's drying. But, well, in fact, let's go ahead and do another step while that's drying. The next step is going to be to take this orchid wreath chipboard and to color it. Now, what Teresa has done, and I think you can see, she has simply used ink pads. So, for the circle, she used the seal brown, just simply tapped it. And Teresa likes to leave the things on the backing piece while she's doing the coloring. Now you can do that, or you can pop it out, place it on your craft sheet, and then do your inking. And it would probably be best to use a blending tool to do that, one of the blending brushes, because you don't want to get it mixed in with the other pieces. Now, she also used the plum jam. The plum jam is for the orchids. That makes sense, doesn't it? And then she used grasshopper for the leaves. Now, of course, you've got several pieces here, but that beautiful wreath is what she's going to put around the cat. And she's not going to do that until after we're going to finish gilding this, which will be next. Then she also used several pieces down here in the corner. So an orchid, you can see the leaves and the branches with the buds. Those are right there too. So just really nice. Okay, you are seeing that shine, and that shine happens with something I don't think I would have ever thought of doing. So when this is dry, she went back and repositioned her stencil on top, and then took Versamark or any of the watermark ink pads, tapped it on top, and then spread the gold superfine embossing powder, tapped it off, and heat set it. And look at that, you have got a gilded edge. How fun is that? Well, while she was doing it, she went around with the ink pad around the edges and gave it a gilding all over the place. Now you see that spattering, Okay, well, what Teresa did is she took our Cosmic Shimmer glue, diluted a little bit with water. You've seen Sarah do this, I know. And then dip a paintbrush in it and then tap it. Or you can use the Tim Holtz distress brush. And then she went over that with, again, the embossing powder. No ink pad, just the embossing powder. The water and glue is enough to hold the embossing powder in place, so you get all of those spatters. These two pieces are out of the book, and I told you we would be seeing that stamp again. Leave Your Print is one of the stamps on the set, and she also did that with a gold ink pad, just really nice. Now on the back of this, she did the same thing so far as the gilding. She didn't use the stencil, but she has the other piece of the chipboard, and she did the spattering just like we talked about, and then she's got one of the cutouts right there. So really, really a treasure, I think. Okay, that is what Stamperia has. I don't even know if I can pull everything back together, but you know that it all starts with orchids and cats, which doesn't seem like a strange combination anymore, does it? We've got die cuts. We have lots of rice paper. Love rice paper. And we've got chipboard, and we have stamps, and we have 5 wonderful projects. Thank you, Teresa. Outstanding as always. And thank you for being with us and for sharing the orchids and cats with us. And if you want to get all of the directions, Teresa's written everything out, plus that download, just go down below into the gallery. You know that there is a money saver on all of the products. In fact, Teresa didn't even use every single piece. There are a few more pieces of the rice paper and a couple more chipboard, but there is a money saver for all of them on the right side of your screen. If you're watching us on YouTube, Lene tells me that down below there's a link that will take you to paperwishes.com. So come on over and join us for the fun. We'll see you again next Sunday.